They saw you be crazy. It's too late. Hey guys, welcome back for another video. My name is Deja, and today we are going to be trying out two different kinds of Arrtx acrylic markers that they kindly sent me. I received the 72 count of the 3mm brush tip that I'm excited to work with because I have worked with their 48 count of the 3mm in the past, and this obviously just has such a larger array of colors to work with, as well as a new brush tip that didn't come in the first box. So really excited to go ahead and give that a try, but somehow even more excited to be working with the 30 tip of the saturated brush tips. These are supposed to be skin tone colors. I'm super excited because that's where I found the 90 count was really lacking, was that we didn't have a lot of skin tones. So to get this additional array is awesome. But guys, we don't need to put the stickers on them. Not having to do that, having them really listen to us. Thank you, Arrtx gods. What I don't want to thank you, Arrtx gods, for is there should be much darker colors. I would have loved to see more of an array, but nonetheless, I'm super excited to be working with them and to create my first portrait in this huge sketchbook they sent me. Literally bigger than my head. So to be doing my first acrylic portrait in here, she's a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but let's get into it. So there were two things that made this portrait a success to me by my standards. The first is gonna be this 30 set of the acrylic skin tones from Arrtx. Absolutely amazing. I've never had a set specifically for portraits, like with colors that I'd use for that. Again, I wish we had more variation for the darker tones, but I'm really happy with how this is starting, and I'm excited to be able to practice portraits. But the second, guys, don't make fun of me. Zoovee sent me a beanbag, and the way I needed this is actually insane. I've been super lazy about getting myself a nice chair for like my loft studio area. As you can see, I have like this white wood chair back there, so my back's always killing me, but I'm really excited to, you know, just be able to actually relax in my space and create in a more comfy area. So thank you to Zoovee for sending this out. If you guys would also like to check out the beanbag, the link is below and you can use the promo code there to get yourself a little discount. But let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about, oh my god, my first attempt at a portrait this large. I'd previously done a Sabrina Carpenter portrait. I actually did two, but they were in a much smaller sketchbook. So doing it at this large of apportioning, what am I trying to say here? Ratio. I'm trying to say ratio or size. A little bit nerve-wracking, but I feel like having the right colors in front of me and not having to blend colors and like do all this extra steps that I had to do for the Sabrina Carpenter made me feel a little bit more supported in that way. So being able to use a marker that I am used to, just getting more used to the new variation of colors, is definitely something that I felt a little bit more in my wheelhouse for. I will admit though, this beard stressed me out, guys, because like he's a little bit patchy on the side of his face, but like I just made it full. It was just like too much for me, and by doing that I slowly started making Bad Bunny just into this Puerto Rican pirate, and you guys will see him start to emerge. I'm sure you'll hear him yo ho ho at some point or another in your head, but that's all I kept hearing as I slowly started to like work him out more and like add the jewelry to his nose and his ear, and like I still think it came out pretty well though, like not gonna lie. It was just watching the being I was creating, like adding these gems, and like I was like, wow, so this is like a fancy schmancy pirate, like he's got gold and gems for days, I guess. I'm now getting carried away. Let me rein it back in. As with all of the markers in this brush tip line, I still firmly believe that layering up on your colors is the best way to create a really dynamic, fun look. I'm using purples, blues, peaches, creams, yellows, pinks, everything I can to create some really dimensional body shapes instead of letting it just stay the 2D flat it is on the paper. So sometimes that required me doing just 2 layers, and sometimes that required me maybe doing 3 to 4, sometimes even 5 layers, depending on if I had achieved the look I wanted, or even if like I accidentally laid down maybe a color in a space I didn't want to put it. I would then have to take another color and kind of just carve out the shape I'm looking for. I feel like that's the reality of what I'm doing, especially when I'm working here on the ear. The entire time I was like, oh my God, what the heck am I doing? But as I slowly started building up layer by layer the color and just carving out the shape of an ear, it worked out for me. I don't know how else to describe that. Give it a shot yourselves, and when the going gets rough, just add another layer, because trust me, these hands got rough, guys. Like at one point, I remember working on the hands and it like just looked skeletal and weird and blobby somehow, even though it was skeletal. And like none of the colors were working, but I just had to keep layering up until finally I did kind of figure out what worked, and also just had to give up on like the detailedness of everything too, because if there's one thing I've learned with these acrylic markers, it's how important it is for you to just go with the flow sometimes. Now guys, this is where it gets real piratey, as I am working on his silk like hair accessory, his do-rag, his bandana, whatever you want to call it, the thing on his head that I'm painting right now that makes him look fine as hell, that, yeah, I was so excited for the opportunity to work on. So lately I've been trying to work a lot on like my blankets and folds and material. I think I mentioned that in a few videos with like some picnic blankets that I was working on. So the opportunity to kind of bring it around in another way throughout like this portrait, I was so excited for. But then as I'm coloring it in, I'm like, so I know not everyone is like, oh yeah, the Bad Bunny Allure 2021 cover, I know that. That's not like information that people have at the top of their head. Like when people look at this, it's just gonna give pirate. It's just gonna give like pirate with a sense of fashion, maybe. Domino fit. People will like, what are these domino fingers? It gives confusion to most, I'm sure. But nonetheless, I'm still really excited because I feel like for my first time working on a portrait this big and just having Bad Bunny as an inspiration behind this Puerto Rican pirate, I mean, I'm really proud of how it came out. I had a lot of fun working on it, and I feel like it gave me a lot of confidence to work with portraits in the future. So pumped about that, but we're going to be taking a little bit of a left turn in our next portrait that we're working on, because at this point we're going to be switching over to the 72 count of the 3mm nubbed acrylic markers.
Okay, we're going to start giving that brush tip a try. Okay. I hate having to like ruin the tip to get the ink dispensed onto it. That's kind of silly. But, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that at all. Okay, we're gonna work with that. We're gonna work with that.
Gotta admit, it was a really quick fix, and I'm actually really loving this brush tip. Super awesome in terms of like dispensing the color, getting in those fine details as well as some thicker ones, and yeah, I'm a happy girl.
So I put the blue nub inside the green tip to see if that was like a cool way to blend, and we're gonna find out. So far I think yes, guys. So far, I don't know if this has been discovered or if I'm like the Christopher Columbus. Ooh, Christopher Columbus definitely didn't discover this place, so that was an awful example. Somebody name another explorer. Am I one of them? Have I just discovered something cool and smart? Or is this just common sense and I'm a kooky?
Now, mixing the nubs is pretty cool and fun, and it does create like an ombre-ish effect when you first use it, but eventually evens out for the most part. You just really do have to be mindful of those nubs. Like obviously it's not something that you can continue to use again and again and again, because it'll fill with a lot of different mixes of paints, which eventually will not create as much of a saturated look as like you're trying to create here. But, you know, I really did appreciate having the option to switch between 3 different types of nubs. You have the original 3mm that it comes with. You can flip that one to this more detailed side that I'm using right now. And then they did also include those brush tip ones that I just used with the blue earlier. So yeah, a lot of different options, not only just in terms of all the additional colors that were added to the original 48 count, but also just a lot of tip options. So I'd say that these markers got a really big upgrade along with just like the addition of more colors to work with. Now, for those of you who's wondering, okay, what's the inspiration on this one then? If your previous pirate was Bad Bunny, we're actually continuing hopping down the Bad Bunny path. I don't know, I was trying to make a bunny joke there that just didn't land. Work with me, guys. He did a music video where in, I think it was Nueva York, that he is like in the Statue of Liberty putting a Puerto Rican flag on top of like her crown, and when you actually like look into why he's doing it, he's actually nodding to a moment in history where like a bunch of Puerto Rican activists had occupied the Statue of Liberty as a form of protest for I think like 6 or 8 hours, and like everything went well. It was like a peaceful form of protest. I think the most they did was break one glass, but I thought it was a really cool nod, and I was like, hey, this is a part of my history. This would be sick to kind of paint. And I insisted on making the 2 things that were holding the flag up onto her crown to be my 2 dogs. I have always told them from the day they were born, from the day I gave birth to them, you are Puerto Rican princesses. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I do not care if you are a dog. I do not care if the word Australian is in your breed. You're Puerto Rican, so learn to live like that. And trust me, they loved it. Beans, rice, they ate. I'm kidding, I did not feed my dogs beans and rice, but they really do like it. But also they're dogs who would literally like anything. All of that beside the point. These 2 dogs holding the Puerto Rican flag on top of the Statue of Liberty, yeah, that's my Sage and Amelia. So they're cool. Anyway, let's wrap this up, guys, because I'm being left to my own devices and it's not the best. I'm gonna admit this now. I'm only gonna show you guys 1 layer of paint on this background. I did this background so many times before deciding that I wanted to keep it onto this like pink corally kind of vibe, and I'm really happy I did because I think it came out really well with, you know, the end product. Okay, so 2 sketches down for the large portrait sketchbook. I really love them both. I had an awesome time just creating them and working with these guys. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe for your chance to get a pair yourselves. And Seiji, say goodnight, Mama. Good night. Thanks for joining us. Bye.